This video was made possible by our channel members. Thank you all very much. This is recorded as an audio-only podcast, so stick your headphones on and get to work in another window. Enjoy. Good evening, YouTube, or I suppose good afternoon for you, Inter. How are you doing, friend?
I am doing well, Jack. How are you?
I'm very well, sir. I've got back from the day job, and now it's time for the night job. But this one I enjoy far more, because we're going to talk about the Wayward Realms, which is, at this point, it kind of feels like every decision I've ever made in life is leading up to the release of Early Access.
Yes. It is coming down to the wire.
Well, they said by the end of the year, and by my count, that's less than 2 months.
I was quite surprised in one of the recent Wayward Radio episodes when they said that, I think it was Michael said that they actually are expecting to be able to make that originally planned deadline, even though along the way it has started to seem at sometimes like it might bleed over into 2026, and I'm perfectly okay with that if they want to keep
No, it has to be this year. Must be this year. This is something I pressed them about on the interviewing the Wayward Realms devs 2 Electric Boogaloo video. It was like, come on, is it still going to be this year? I need to know, chaps, because so much of this build-up is like, at this point, the success of my channel depends
in a large
way on the release of the Wayward Realms. In fact, I did actually have a comment recently from a chap who was like, well, you can your channel will grow so much quicker if they actually gave you more content to work with. I was like, well, I don't just do Wayward Realms. You could check out some of the Dungeons & Dragons stuff or the Untold Destiny stuff. But no, like, we are both backers.
Yes.
I'm a bit of a late backer. I got in sort of...
Oh, are you?
I am, yeah. I only backed at the beginning of this year.
See, I did not back until April of this year.
So okay, we're sort of in the same sort of boat then.
Yes.
But it took me a long time, because I was aware of it from back in the day. Have you ever heard of a YouTuber called Razorfist?
It rings a faint bell.
He does a lot of politics BS, but he also used to do video game stuff. And he talked about Daggerfall, the spiritual successor to the spiritual... Is it
predecessor?
No? Predecessor, there we go, thank you. He talked about Daggerfall, and then he hinted that Julian LeFay and Ted Peterson, the brains behind Daggerfall, would be working on a new project. So that's when I first sort of became aware of it. And it was after the failure of Avowed that I suddenly remembered, hold on, there is actually...
What is this other thing?
Yeah, and then I went looking for it. And I think somewhere along the way, my brain had conflated Avowed and the Wayward Realms as two games to keep track of. And of course, Avowed was not a game that was worthy of being kept track of.
I have no opinion on that one.
But yeah, so it's like this game sort of shines on the horizon as like North Star. It's like the three wise men are following this star.
I do not count me among that number.
But it's just, man, I am, as we said before we start recording, I am trepidatious. I think I'm using that word correctly. I'm sure someone will tell me otherwise.
I'm going to say it's correct.
Even
if it's not.
There are things I want from this game which, after having talked to Michael and Victor about, I am both hopeful and cynical about. I don't know about you.
Oh, may I just spare a moment to praise you for that duality? Because I get the impression from many of the reactions I see around the internet about a variety of topics that there is this overwhelming urge for everybody to firmly entrench themselves into camps and not have any tolerance whatsoever for an opposing side. But I think that's nonsense, because human nature is to be in a continuous flux of duality. We always have positive and negative feelings throughout the entire day. And I don't think it is possible to look at an upcoming game that we have very high hopes for, but not a tremendous amount of information to work with, and just wonder and be in that fluctuation between, well, is it going to be great? Is it going to be terrible? What should I be prepared for? What do I expect? And so I totally applaud you having both anxiety and expectations at the same moment, because I'm exactly the same way.
Well, I thank you for that, because my ego does not get enough attention. But no, you're very right. I think that the source of our shared trepidation, word of the day, is we've been burned before as a sort of I don't know what you would call gamers, a social class or a consumer class or what have you, but gamers, especially in the RPG space, have been burned many times in many different ways through a lot of false Howard's prophets. I shared a video the other day, which is how we came into contact, about my worries for the Elder Scrolls 6. One of the worries I have for the Wayward Realms is that it will be compared, unfavorably or favorably, to ES6. And I'm someone that, sort of tongue-in-cheek said the Skyrim killer, and got everyone jumped down my throat, not realizing that it was a marketing ploy. But it's like, there's a lot riding on this, I think, being something that is new and dangerous and uncharted.
I fear I may have been one of those people who jumped down your throat. I don't think I was, but I very easily could have been, because
maybe.
I actually had a comment about this in my opinion segment on the entirety of the Elder Scrolls series, where I said, well, the Wayward Realms is not going to try to be a Skyrim killer.
I remember
it's going to try to beat Skyrim at a different sort of game, by being a game that Skyrim has forgotten how to be.
I remember
and
this,
Yeah, and I think the Elder Scrolls 6 is just going to be yet another increment along that downward spiral, where the Wayward Realms is going to be almost incomparable in some respects. And for a good way, I hope.
And yet, it is the comparison that will be made. Sales numbers, mechanics, all the rest of it. That is the comparison that will be made. And I think, in a sense, it's fair because of the two minds that it's come from. Obviously, Ted Pearson and Julian LeVay, may he rest in peace.
Indeed.
There's no separating the two, I think. I know they're linked at the hip in my mind. I don't know about yourself. I mean, I can intellectually assent to there being different goals for the Wayward Realms. Definitely. But it seems to me that they'll be linked. Go on.
Unlike yourself, I have the questionable luxury of not having any prior experiences with Daggerfall. I've only seen other people play it, yourself included, and I've not ever personally laid hands on the game. Although I have looked at trying to download it. It is free on Steam, etc., etc. And as
I will send you my little mod pack if you like, which is just...
don't do it! Oh, must resist! But my point is, I don't know what Daggerfall was like firsthand, so I don't know what to expect from the Wayward Realms. I'm going into it very much... I wouldn't say entirely in a clean slate, because I think you're totally right. They are linked at the hip, the two IP series. But I don't know what to expect in terms of first-hand gameplay. And part of that is contributing to my trepidatiousness, word of the day. But on the other hand, I'm thinking, well, it could be awesome. I could get something I'm not expecting, and it will be way better than what I've imagined. And I hope that will be true.
But the problem is we don't know.
We don't know. They've
Michael,
been so quiet.
Lictor, help.
I don't know if you folks are aware that we are recording this on the 6th of October, and there is rumor happening in the Once Lost Games Discord that a devlog, the first devlog they've done, correct me if I'm wrong, ever?
No, they did. They've disappeared, but I have evidence they existed of devlogs for the weather systems and for other bits and pieces, because I reacted to them on a different show with a YouTuber called Variax and another YouTuber called The Dungeon Delver. So I actually have those videos on my channel as a reaction content, so to speak. Gone but not forgotten.
Yes. Well, I wasn't sure if those were in a format of a devlog or just kind of like a showcasing of the game. But regardless, there is supposed to be another devlog coming out very soon, and we are super anxious to see what that delivers for us. And I don't know about you, Jack, but I am going to nitpick that thing frame by frame and not be ashamed about doing it.
I am going to be right there with you. I want I hope Victor and Michael watched this. I'm sure someone from Once Lost Games will, because they always sort of pop up on these sorts of videos. For a studio that doesn't really give us much in the way of meat, they are around a lot.
Yes, I have to applaud their community involvement for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I was having a chat with Victor and Michael just over Discord the other day. It's just a general, hey, how's things going? And honestly, it's some of the friendliest developers I think you could ever wish for. But for devs that are sort of so involved in the community's life, we've gone a long while without any real, meat outside of maybe the Wayward Radio introduction, where you can kind of get a little bit of some screenshots and some panoramic. Wow.
There you go.
Don't mind me, I'm just having a stroke.
Well, I remember those Wayward Radio discussions where I believe it was guest developer Kai said that the reason they've not been able to show any more recent screenshots is because all of the randomization and generation systems work together cohesively to generate everything you see in a vista, in a panoramic vista. And if any one of those systems is not up to par or is being worked on by some other member of the team and it's going through revision or whatever, if anything is not synchronized with every other system, then some very noticeable thing in the screenshot might be very much askew from expectations. And they don't want to set false expectations. They do not want to set false expectations this late in the game or this close to a public release.
You see,
so that could be one of the reasons, but
it kind of
show
reminds
us
me
anyway,
of,
man. Show us anyway.
You got any more of them generations? I still watch the initial release, not release trailer, the initial gameplay trailer they released a year ago from time to time.
Oh yeah,
and it's just, it looks wonderful. But let's get into something a bit more nitty gritty, because we're sort of dancing around things.
Yes, let's not dance anymore. It's time to go into the mosh pit.
I think we're going to come at this from very different directions on a few points. Let's take Balfapava, the main city on Ijar, should be available in early access. I remember you saying in one of your podcasts, although I don't remember which, that you are not
neither do I.
that you're not necessarily looking forward to scale cities. I don't know if you saw my dedicated video.
Naples. Yes,
yeah, exactly.
The one where you return from Naples, yep.
And I was just wandering around Naples going, could this be the sort of thing I can expect from a human seaside town in an island somewhere, where there are just warren upon warren upon warren of ancient city streets? Because it's a strange feeling. Now, I'm an Englishman. I come from an ancient country. I've got castles in my back garden near enough. So it's going to another.
History's in your blood.
Indeed, but going to another city in sort of South Europe and finding these really tall medieval buildings, which have just sort of been remade in the same spot several times over.
Yeah,
it is incredible, and I think having these sorts of, because imagine you're going through Balfapava. As far as I'm aware, the generation is being done the same for everybody in terms of locations of shops and things. And you find yourself on the corner of two intersecting narrow streets in the slums somewhere, a bakery. And that bakery gives you a bread roll, which gives you a certain buff, which is just better than everything else you found so far. That is, to me, an incredibly appetizing part of a 2-scale city, where you could just be walking across this city for hours and be finding new stuff.
Yes.
But I know you were a little bit trepidatious about that.
Word of the day.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was... I'm not sure that I said I was worried about the scale of the city. I think I was worried about things being lost in that scale. Like the sense of presence and the sense of purpose to every single street corner. Like, I remember from your Naples video, you were talking about finding very small details, like fountains or shrines or whatever, just embedded into the walls of a part of either the city proper or another building or whatever. And it's these little details that make every street corner, whether it be a bakery's slum neighborhood or what have you, so unique and so memorable. And I think I was afraid that when you start building up realistically scaled cities, we may lose some of those fine details that make the adventure memorable. Jeez. And then what the onus then becomes is, do you have memorable experiences from people you interact with? And it's not so much about the city anymore. It's just about, well, what does the randomization give you for interactions?
It's kind of like the opposite of wood for the trees. You're missing the trees for the wood in your scenario.
Yeah.
But again, this is all very well and good to speculate on, but we don't know.
We don't.
I can only go back to Daggerfall, and because there it's very much that. It's like the city is the same every time, but the people are different. And Daggerfall, I think, just because of the product of its time, doesn't go into as much detail as I want the Wayward Realms to go into. But really, how much detail can they muster with what they're saying? And that second interview I did with them, they are incredibly confident in their waveform collapse. They think they've got this in the bag, but like I said to them, I need to see it to believe it.
Yes.
And a bit of a doubting
totally
Thomas.
Agree with you. No, it is fair to say that, because we are at a point where so many promises have been made and so much talk has been talked that we need to see the walk in action. And we need to walk that walk ourselves if we are at all able to in 2025. Because, I think our imaginations are starting to run away from us. Indeed, and we are thinking the game is going to be even more than what they promised at this point.
It's really difficult to sort of keep your hype in control. I mean, hype can
maintain objectivity.
Indeed, hype can destroy a video game, which is why I think they're so cagey about talking about certain things.
Quick tangent on that. Do you think there will be an NDA for this initial release to the Kickstarter backers? Do you think there will be an NDA?
I certainly hope not, because I plan on doing a lot with this.
Yes, me too.
I have not heard, in the conversations I have had with them, and I don't want to say too much specifically because I appreciate them talking to me. Yes. I have not had the inkling that there would be such a thing. I don't think there would be a purpose for one, because we're going to get early access a little bit earlier due to our backing of the Kickstarter, but it will eventually hit a public early access, from my understanding.
I was of the impression, I'm recalling a memory that's quite possibly false, but I think they said that their public early access would not be released until at least 1 year later. And I'm just thinking, if they've done so much in such a recent time since the Kickstarter campaign concluded, doing all the development they've done in those relatively short months, versus when the project was begun, I'm thinking, well, how much more can you do in an entire year to develop so many more systems, make everything more complete, make everything more realized, and get that much closer to a full release? And I wonder if they might give us an NDA for the Kickstarter backers, because they don't want that public hype train to leave the station without the public being on board with their own early access of their own to play with. But I'm with you. I hope they don't have one.
I hope they don't as well. But you've got to think of it as like as an optics thing, right? If they make everyone that goes through the Kickstarter sign an NDA for an absurd amount of time, it kind of shows a lack of confidence in the product.
Oh, that's a fair point.
And speaking as a marketing man, I wouldn't want people to lose confidence in a product that I had so much confidence in. And look, for all my talk there of having to keep the hype under control, I cannot express to you the amount of hype that I am experiencing.
Yes.
And I am incredibly excited. Like, all the nerves and all the anxiety over this game, are there. But I am incredibly bloody excited. Can I say that on YouTube still? Bloody,
I hope so. Good grief. If we're down to that, it's over.
It's my culture. I think perhaps then should we tackle something that I believe we will be diametrically opposed on. We'll throw some red meat to the watchers.
Okay.
And it's sort of the selling point, the unique selling point of Wayward Realms, right? They're sort of pioneering this kind of technology.
Oh, I know where you're going.
The virtual game master.
Ooh, boo!
Yay! Right, moving on. I believe the virtual game master, if it works, and obviously this all pivots on the hypothetical, if it works, will elevate the Wayward Realms to the next level. 'Cause it's one thing to have a beautifully procedurally generated world. It's one thing to fill it with really cool lore, and it's one thing to be able to do that consistently without boring the player, a la Starfield or early No Man's Sky. It is a complete other thing. Now, I know you haven't done too much TTRPG stuff. Not really your cup of tea. You might be surprised to learn that I've done quite a bit.
Looking at your channel, I'm not.
If they can pull it off, then that will just... I lack the words to express the achievement that will be.
Yes.
Because as a dungeon master and as a player, constantly being able to interact and get the world to react, and I think reaction of the world is a very important thing. I did a video a while back where I just went round one of the cities in Starfield, and I was just shooting my gun in the air, and after a soldier told me to put my gun away, I started shooting the dust around his feet. Not one reaction. And I think the VGM, if it has the capacity not just to provide me with questing content, but has the capacity to manage the reactions of people around me,
by recognizing what it is that you are doing,
or at least being able to recognize the effects of an action. AI is obviously stupid. So I don't hold out the most hope in the world for it, but if they can pull it off, man.
Yes. Well, you started out the segment saying we'd be diametrically opposed. I'm about to surprise you.
Oh, have you had a bit of a change in opinion from your podcast episode on this?
No, I really haven't, but I'd like to refine that opinion, perhaps.
Okay.
For some listeners who might have not listened to that one in a while. I would like to quote your friend Dean from your latest Talking in the Library video, after you guys were doing your reaction videos near the end, which is a pretty cute watch, by the way. There's a plug for you guys.
I'm adorable. Guys should go subscribe to Untold Destiny, by the way. He making his own TTRPG system. Very, very good.
Yes, very cool. I like that. Well, when you guys were talking about the virtual elements and the randomization elements, Dean said that he thinks the VGM AI will certainly be worth the while if they can get the unusual happening. And, you're going through a quest that you've done loads of times before, you're familiar with what the basic layout of it is, but then all of a sudden the VGM just throws into your adventure a curveball that is based on something that you might have done hours ago. And you don't even remember it happening because you've done so much stuff since then. But all of a sudden the VGM just works in and worms in this little sidestep to say, hey, there's this nemesis who wants to, steal all of your gold because you pissed him off and broke his fence or something. I don't know.
I actually have a specific thought about that. I've been thinking about this. This is probably where I'm going to sort of swap places with you. You've said, VGM good. I'm about to say VGM bad.
Okay.
just, shock and awe as to the twist ending. He was a ghost the entire time. I have a problem with wronging a nobleman by perhaps seducing his missus on one side of the archipelago, being on the other side of the archipelago an in-game year later, so a year's worth of travel, and then being in a dungeon, and him being in the final chamber saying, I beat you to the treasure because you slept with my wife. How did you get here?
And you're not an adventurer, you're a nobleman. How did you get down here past all the enemies?
So I've messed around with Grok and Novel AI when that was a thing. I've been messing around with like AI dungeon games for a long, long while. And, there was one called AI Dungeon about 4 or 5 years ago that was sort of the rudimentary beginnings of OpenAI when it first started going public. It's a little text-based adventure game. And one thing I always notice is that the simulatory aspects, which I want this AI to be able to do for me, because I want simulation in my RPG. That's the big thing for me with this game. I want it to be able to simulate properly the plot. So, as a dungeon master myself, if I were to say, bring in a villain, and then the party moves away from that area the villain operates in, I'm not going to have that villain suddenly be appearing as the final boss of a dungeon on the other side of the world.
Right.
So I need to, unless there's a good reason, like maybe this villain has dogged their steps the entire way. I've got a drow wizard following the party at the moment who is sort of keeping his distance. They know he's there, but they can't quite get to him because he just teleports away whenever they get close.
Oh, sneaky.
Indeed. But that kind of antagonist, where if I can know that I'm being tracked, that would be cool, Mr. VGM, sir. But I don't want someone just popping up out of the ether when I left him, 99 islands ago.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, if it will make you feel better, I will reassert my negativity to reestablish my negative dominance here.
We can swap back.
Yes, there you go. So the thing that Dean ended out on was that if they don't manage to nail the whole implementation of the VGM doing clever things that make sense within the context, as you just outlined, then if they don't manage to nail that, you are going to end up with, and again I quoted him here, glitchy, weird stuff happening.
And that Bethesda DNA will surface.
Yes, exactly. And that, I think, is one of the things that scares me, at least for the early access portion of the game. I'm hoping it will cease to be an issue, or anywhere near as much of an issue, when the full release of the game finally arrives. But in early access, not so much for my own personal experience, but I'm worried for the sake of Once Lost Games, how in the world are they going to go about troubleshooting glitchy, weird stuff?
This is actually a really good point.
If it's being made randomly by a system that is thriving on randomization, and you're working with a large language model that is tracking thousands of stats about the player and their past activities, how do you track down the source of some possibly imperceivable relationship between a bug and something that happened in the past that might have been the player's responsibility? How do you make an association? And how do you do that for everybody who is experiencing random things at random times in random places?
It's not a bug, it's a feature.
It would have to be at that point, wouldn't it? But I mean, it's like trying to unravel a bowl of spaghetti from Mars. How are you going to do it?
They have spaghetti on Mars.
The spaghetti's... Anyway.
This sort of takes us back to our first little bit where we were saying this is just new ground. It's new territory. This is a revolutionary... Yeah. We don't know. Look, Once Lost Games. We don't know. We're trying.
We're trying to be patient.
I get being a good Catholic and trusting Jesus, but I shouldn't have to do this with my video games.
I am not going to let him take the wheel. I'm holding on firm.
I have my skepticisms because, as I say, look, I dabble in writing. I went to university for creative writing. I did English Lit for my further education, so I like my my well-constructed stories, and I like writing about stories, and people that have watched the channel a bit in the back ago, I like English me, a little while ago, will know that I did a little bit of critiques of the writing of Dragonlance, the Chronicles of Dragonlance. Mm-hmm. So my usual complaint with artificial intelligence writing stuff is that it's fine as a toy. If you want it to run you a scenario where you fight a dragon, absolutely fine. It got very good very, very quickly at writing porn. I can't tell you why that is.
Porn's easy.
It's very easy to do badly. But
how do you know it's bad?
I'm
just kidding.
I'm going to say too much and have to go to confession. What I'm trying to explain is AI writing is very noticeably AI writing because it's trained on a lot of old 90s creative writing courses. I actually had an issue. I actually had an issue with a friend of mine who released something, and people said he used AI, and then he showed me it. Like, well, no, you haven't used AI, but I can tell what's happened. The AI was trained on the courses you took back in the 90s.
Oh.
So you just write like a machine now. Or the machine writes like you. So I had to go through his paragraphs trying to restructure it to sound less robotic. But
wow.
But AI writing is terrible, is what this long-winded, meandering point is. And I worry that the LLM that is behind the VGM kind of like selecting what he wants to use from the LLM, the large language model, is going to just be insane and have massive hallucinations. But at the same time, it could be great.
It could be the wackiest game master in the world.
See, I like things that make sense.
Yes. I did take creative writing as my electives at university. So I know a little bit of where you're coming from, and I share similar appreciations. Well, may I propose another topic that I don't know if will be controversial, but...
Well, we keep trying to be controversial, then we keep agreeing with each other.
Yeah, it's not working out quite so well, is it? I remember from certain videos in the past on your channel that you have a different, I would say, a more open relationship with certain mature themes in games, whether that be tabletop or video games, what have you.
Sexy sword and sorcery.
And there you go.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the sex or the porn or the nudity or whatever.
No,
I'm
definitely
thinking
not.
about I'm thinking about the broader associations of the video game M rating for that mature label and all the many things that go with that. I would like to get your opinion on something, because this is something I'm going to be speaking about in a podcast later this month, actually, is games for nice people, basically. And how it doesn't seem like there are any anymore. How it seems like the vast majority of at least popular games on the market out there that get the big returns on investment from lots of sales are the games that are constantly trying to be edgy just for the sake of maintaining that audience, maintaining that paying customer. And I'm just wondering how much of that needs to be in a game that is, number one, set in a fantasy world, number two, about being an adventurer going miles across land, perhaps not meeting anybody for hours, and how meaningful is it for the gaming experience if every once in a while when you meet somebody, your long periods of boredom and exploration are punctuated by grievous violence and obscenities and gore and what have you, and elements of fear that just are overpowering for the character and maybe the player as well. How much do we need that in the Wayward Realms? What is your take on that?
So firstly, I might be able to assuage your fears a little bit, because this is something I have asked them about.
Okay.
And so these sort of random encounters, as I would call them as a dungeon master, when you're sort of traveling, you need something to happen, so something will happen. One of the examples brought up was... one of the examples they brought up was that you might run into a merchant, and he will be able to tell you what is further down the road, if there's anything you need to watch out for, or he might ask you for news of what is from where you've just come from, if there's anything he needs to watch out for. So there will be these sort of mundane, everyday conversations happening, and this goes back to sort of like my peak desire. My peak desire for the Wayward Realms is simulation. I want to step out of my modern life, and I'm about to be a dad. I want to put the baby with his mum for a bit. I want to escape to a different world for a little bit. So I want to be able to step into this world, and I want to live. I want to be able to exist in this world. I don't want to be someone special. I just want to do whatever the hell I want to do in this world within certain parameters that I set myself.
Yep.
As for the violence, I mean, it's an RPG. Fantasy RPGs have violence. Sword and sorcery is sword and sorcery for a reason. It's the heroic adventure. It's sort of the tradition that the genre comes out of. So you won't, unfortunately, really be avoiding that. I mean, you look at Beowulf, that gets pretty hairy.
It does, yeah.
The more interesting way of looking at it is actually from the adult material side. Now, I am not a fan of adult material for adult material's sake, but I find that the genre and we're sort of wandering out of Wayward Realms into fantasy as a genre, and I find that there's sort of 2 or 3 intertwined branches, but the main 2 are sword and sorcery, which is sort of like your Robert E. Howard, your Conan, your Red Sonja, and also your Michael Moorcock with your Elric and Melniboné. That's those sorts of characters. Mm-hmm. And then you've also got your Tolkien mythological fantasy with obviously your Lord of the Rings and your Silmarillions. But even in Lord of the Rings, I'm quite fond of saying at the end of Return of the King, Gimli and Éomer nearly kill each other over a fight about who is the prettiest, Arwen or Galadriel. So it kind of speaks to this innate human emotion for beauty, for sexiness, for desire, and for being able to hold certain things and people up on pedestals as being the best or the nicest to look at, or so on and so forth. The flip side of this is the seedy stuff, which is, I think, what you're worried about. And I know there are pleasure houses scattered throughout the Wayward Realms, and there may be characters that is definitely suited to, but because this game's scale is so massive, if you want to play, like I plan to play at some point, the chivalrous knight who has oaths of chastity or, one woman, one love, that kind of thing, you wouldn't be caught dead there. And if you did go there, it'd be very uncomfortable. And that kind of experience, I think, is just as valid as slaying a dragon.
Yes, I totally agree with you. I'm actually not so concerned for my own sake about witnessing seedy stuff like brothels and what have you. And I certainly have no problem with nudity being depicted in games. What I have a problem with is nudity being depicted in games that I'm trying to stream on YouTube and risking the livelihood of my channel. I know they've already spoken about. There's been quite an extensive post on the Discord saying that yes, they've reassured us there will be filters for that. We will have a streaming safe mode for this game and what have you. But it's just one aspect of the mature rating that sort of has me a little bit worried because stepping away from the romantic side of things, I am a scaredy cat. I don't like going into scary-looking places knowing that I'm going to be scared out of my wits. It's that negative feedback into my apprehension and my trepidation, word of the day.
Hey.
I just don't like it, Jack. I'm a scaredy cat. I want a nice, friendly, happy-go-lucky game.
Might I interest you?
I don't think the Wayward Realms is going to be that.
Might I interest you in Animal Crossing?
Or Hello Kitty Island Adventure. Yes, one of those.
I'll be honest, there are some pretty terrifying things in Animal Crossing. I've seen some of those characters. I get where you're coming from, but at the same time, doesn't that make it better? Because if you're actually going to be immersed, and I am looking for heavy immersion points from this game. I'll be scoring this game based on how much I lose myself in it.
Yeah.
If I'm actually scared of going into the haunted-looking house with the cobwebs,
yes,
that's points. That's not a negative. That's ticks.
Okay, I'll buy with that.
I do get where you're coming from though, and as a dungeon master, again, we'll go back to VGM here. Something that hasn't come up too much, but has come up with certain topics. I shan't drop anyone's name or what they were scared of into it, but there are things that I was asked to avoid around the table. And because I'm dungeon mastering for friends, I go, yeah, sure, no problem. Because as much as the internet tries to tell me otherwise, I don't consider myself to be a dick. And I don't want to just torture someone mentally for no reason.
Right.
But with a video game, you kind of have to consent getting into it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I see your trepidation, but I say, be brave, Frodo.
I will try. I'm going to need a lot of lanterns. I'm going to need a backup to a backup to a backup lantern.
I think there is a mechanic for putting a lantern on your belt. I think. Don't quote me on that.
I heard about that, yes. Or possibly attaching it to your chest harness or something. Yeah, I heard about that.
Like bandoliers and things, I think, is also something they were talking about. Like, a lot of this, like, this video, I suppose we'll have to do another one when the devlog is actually done and we actually know things. Like, a lot of this video is just, we don't know. We know so much and yet so little.
Okay, well, I like where we came out on this topic of mature content. Could I possibly persuade you to talk about something that is really central to this game's identity? That is the size of the world. I have a very mixed review on my YouTube channel for that.
I remember
video.
I remember watching it. Yeah.
So without reiterating what was in that podcast, I get the impression sometimes, not all the time, but I get the impression sometimes, based on certain things the developers have said in the past, that they are trying to have their cake and eat it too, and they have sort of two goals that are somewhat militating against each other. They want to have every locale be super fleshed out, proc-gen, going the extra mile, making everything be believable, very rich environments, having lots of stuff to do, and then at the same time having a world that is so vast that it almost makes each point of civilization insignificant in the grand scheme of things because there are so many places to go visit. And I perceive, I don't know if you do, but I perceive this imbalance where you have one goal or one drive that is trying to encourage a player to stay where they are and experience everything they can, roleplay their entire lifespan within the city of Coventry, which is one of the examples they gave in one of their interviews, versus having a world that is so huge and vast and diverse that it begs the player to go out and do more exploring. And I'm trying to figure out, from what I very little know about the game and what little they've shown us, I'm trying to figure out where is that balance point, and are they being cognizant of trying to make that balance point a reality?
You say the city they used was Coventry.
Yes, Coventry spelled with a K. It's the capital of the nation of splendor.
That's funny because there's a city in the middle of England called Coventry.
Yes, I've been there.
I'm sorry. The cynical part of me says alts. I know you like your alts. I know you like change.
There you go.
And I like my alts as well.
Yes, altaholics for the win.
But the more I'm trying to leave behind the thinking that I have had in places like Skyrim and Oblivion and Morrowind, right? Oh, as I say that, one of my friends starts playing Skyrim on Steam. Because it's sort of... It's an old way of thinking for a new generation of role-playing game. And I'm hoping, especially from, again, I'm going to plug myself here, but go and watch the Wayward Realms interview with the devs to Electric Boogaloo. It didn't do as well as the first one. I think the algorithm kind of skipped over it. But in that, they talk a lot about their waveform collapse function, which they're very proud of, very confident in, and how they can tell the AI to basically give depth to cities. By the way, they talked a lot about city destruction in that episode of that interview as well.
Yep. I'm very much looking forward to that.
So am I. Where they talk about how the AI can take note of what the situation was the last time you were in a location as to what it was, as to what it is now, and what it might be in the future, and they will sort of give it different decors or different inhabitants based on, you know, events and that have preceded you being there. I think the thing with sandboxes, the thing with simulation is I expect things to be different. So if I log on to say I've played 10 years of a character's career, right? And he's done a lot to do. Let's say I now want to go and play a pure wizard. And I log on and I get my wizard up and running. 10 years down the line, those two worlds, despite having kicked off from the same starting point, much like a Mount and Blade, could look very different from one another based on my decisions, based on random dice rolls in the background between factions. This is what I mean, but going back to the VGM simulating a villain suddenly popping up halfway across the world, is how accurately can this dungeon master? Can it keep track of named characters for long periods of time before the context gets too big and it forgets about them?
Yeah. And is that going to be a thing? Will they have the capacity to forget somebody who has just dropped their grudge against you?
Maybe, but then again, I don't know if you've played with Grok at all, that the context generation on Grok is immense. It can remember very small details from hundreds of generations ago. So I am hoping, especially as this technology develops, because we're getting a very limited VGM for the start. It's not going to be the whole thing.
Yes, we are. Yeah, that's worth saying.
But again, to answer your initial question about is the scale truly a sort of a have your cake and eat it thing, it has the danger of being, most definitely. And this is something I brought up to them, to their faces, like, God, is it really going to be as good as you say? However, look at No Man's Sky and how much that's improved over the last 10 years.
Oh gosh, yes. I've actually been getting the urge to reinstall that.
I do every now and again. I fly around for a bit, and then I uninstall. But I look at the way technology is now running, especially with AI, and I do see it being able to function. But again, it's like the gameplay loop. If it's anything like Daggerfall, you're going to set yourself a home base. Like, my home base is usually Daggerfall, and I range out from there. Mm-hmm. But I could quite easily go to Sentinel, which is a desert biome, and range out from there. Or I could go to Wayrest, which is a little bit more like Daggerfall, and range out from there. So it's, at the end of the day, it's my choice as to where I want to go and adventure. And I think what we need to understand is they like to say this is not a theme park RPG. It's not it's not a sightseeing tour. It's a world that is supposed to be living and breathing, which is what gets me so hyped about it. It's like I want to go and experience a world that changes along with me.
Yeah. Or changes without me in some cases.
Or especially without me. It's a hard feeling to describe, not wanting to be the center of the world.
Yeah. But I think it goes back to the simulation. You wouldn't want to simulate a home away from home and be, the king of the kingdom.
So one of the issues I have with things like Bannerlord or Warband, or even just the original Mount and Blade, is that what if I want to be a guy? What if I don't want to be leading an army of men? Maybe I just want to go and delve a dungeon. And I think one of the reasons Daggerfall kind of scratches the itch for me is because the DNA is there for that to be the case.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so.
But I'm still trepidatious. Did I answer your question,
like,
or did I just ramble?
You did. Yes, thank you for that. I appreciate that. I would like to ask I would like to ask a question just because I kind of want to make a comment that's sort of off the wall.
Uh-huh.
What is one feature from Daggerfall that you hope makes a sort of direct port into the Wayward Realms, even if it feels out of place? And I'm going to start by giving you an example of my answer. Because I look at gameplay of Daggerfall, and for some crazy reason, I absolutely adore the cardboard cutout NPCs. I love it. I don't know why, but I do.
You're not on your own.
They're so bright and colorful, and it's like, because the entire cardboard cutout is turning to face you, it makes me feel like, even though I'm not the one playing, I'm watching somebody else play, but it makes me feel like the player character is even more. I don't want to say the center of attention, because that's going to past topics that we've discussed. I mean, like, they are being more respected by the tenants of the business that you just walked into than, say, some more modern games, like, for example, Kingdom Come, where you walk into a building and you almost have the Uncanny Valley situation.
Yeah.
Where the proprietor just places their hands in the same spot on the table or the bench or whatever, and their eyes and their head sort of follow you around the room. It feels very unnatural.
What you're experiencing is something that I bring up on my show, Talking in the Library, quite a bit.
Okay.
It has to do with verisimilitude, which is how accurate...
Yes.
Yeah, someone can go and Google that for definitions. I shan't explain it here. But the idea in my head, though, is the older games, these older graphical styles, are so genuine that it actually means you're doing less work on your behalf to maintain your suspension of disbelief.
Yep.
Whereas the more analogous something is to real life, so a 3D environment, more realistic graphics, the more work you have to do to participate in the shared lie. Because that's what fiction is.
That is such a good description. Thank you.
Thank you. I stole all of it. But it's one of those, again, like I've said to people before, my knowledge is very eclectic. I don't know what's mine and what I've stolen. But I
claim it all.
But I'm not that smart. But it's. I think that the paper doll system is great. And you're not alone, because I sometimes post my Daggerfall characters to Twitter, and they get tens of thousands of hits.
That's awesome.
I realize a lot of that is because I have sort of the cute lady elf mod installed, but it's also because people love retro pixel art.
Yeah.
Also, it's just so genuine and charming, and it presents itself to you in such a way that you kind of want to go along with it.
Yeah.
But to answer your question from my perspective, something that is completely out of place from Daggerfall that I would love to see in the Wayward Realms. Oh, that's a really tough one. Because it's not out of place.
Don't worry about whether or not it belongs. Just think about whether or not you'd like to see it.
There's two, I think. One we know is going to be in there, and that is the crowds, right? So, I can't remember, it was either Victor or Michael, last time I was recording with them, said that when the city feels like a Daggerfall city, that's when they know it's done. So, that I'm looking forward to, because I like walking up to NPCs in Daggerfall and asking for directions, and for them to just flip me the middle finger and tell me to bugger off. But I like that, because that's how someone would react. Like, if someone came up to me...
Oh, totally, yeah.
It's like, I like that. Again, we're going back to that second word of the day, simulation. But there's another one, and that is the dungeons. I utterly adore Daggerfall's dungeons. I don't understand. Well, I do understand. But I don't agree with the people that say Daggerfall's dungeons are bad. I like the fact that they are not designed for you. I like the fact that they are labyrinthine, that I get lost, that I have to really think about where I have been or where I haven't been. I have to study my map. By the way, the 3D map in Daggerfall shows you secret doors.
Oh, it does?
It does. If people complain about it, they don't look at it. No, I want the dungeons to be dungeons. I want them to be an undertaking. I want to be able to go back to the same dungeon 4 or 5 times before I'm done with it.
Well, I will say that I have been very spoiled. Very spoiled. I acknowledge this freely. But I still like it nonetheless. Have been spoiled by the roller coaster ride of being returned to the start of a dungeon, so I could just quickly hike on out.
You have not lived.
I'm so lazy.
You have not lived. Go after we're done here. Go and watch my hunting giants video.
Okay.
It's very clipped up. It's just short clips of my experience hunting a particular giant in a dungeon filled with giants. And you have not lived until you have killed the one giant you need to kill, and you are running away from 50 other giants around from... It was the most hilarious shit. Because I was just... I finally kill this giant, and then have to leg it. I love Daggerfall's dungeons, man. I really do. One thing that has me hyped for Wayward Realms, it is just an updated Daggerfall is what I want.
Yes. Yeah. And see, one of the reasons I've postponed trying to install and become familiar with Daggerfall, even after learning about all of this related hypeable stuff, is because I just want to wait and get a fresh experience from the Wayward Realms, because it's supposed to be Daggerfall all over again, but with modern quality of life features, modern graphics, and all that stuff. And I'm so looking forward to having that fresh eyes experience.
I mean, if that's what you want, if you want to save yourself a marriage, so to speak, I will definitely encourage that. I would say once you have done that, go back and give Daggerfall a try. Use the Unity version. Yeah. The reason I say that is because Daggerfall... Watching Daggerfall is one thing. Actually stepping into it and starting that first dungeon, walking into the first imp, getting your ass handed to you, and then realizing...
Or the first rat, for that matter.
Yeah, or the first rat, and the game hasn't saved for you, so now you've got to do character creation again. Daggerfall is one of those games where you start noticing the difference from where you started. So after like 3 or 4 levels, you're now slicing through some of these enemies that were giving you trouble before. And it's a really good feeling. Plus, the music is just very catchy.
Oh, on that note, you said earlier about being able to come back to a dungeon, the same dungeon, 3 or 4 times, and experience more of it. And they've spoken about that in some of their Wayward Radio episodes, about being able to raise your skills so that you can get past intentional level gating by picking a lock to get access to someplace that you can go before. I would like your input or your knowledge on this, because I have no idea how the skill leveling system in Daggerfall works. I don't know if it has ceilings. If there are ceilings, I don't know what numbers those ceilings are. And second part of the question, how much do you think you will spend time in the vicinity of the same dungeon over and over again, rather than going somewhere else and exploring somewhere else? You know, are you willing to make the trek back and forth to a dungeon from a faraway place just because you want to experience one more room in that dungeon?
So I'll answer the second bit first. Okay. I don't know. It's one of those things where I haven't experienced the game, so I just honestly I couldn't say. But I will say, once you have a cart in Daggerfall and you can park it outside of a dungeon and then just start loading up on loot, it's a great feeling. And I feel there will be treasures too heavy for one trip. So there's that kind of logistical side to dungeon delving in Daggerfall that I want to see in the Wayward Realms.
I am so glad they confirmed pack mules.
Oh yes, definitely. As for the first bit, was like, what are the caps like in Daggerfall? Yeah,
skill caps.
Well, the 100 is the max you can get a skill in naturally without enchants, I believe.
Really, 100? Okay.
I believe. The thing is, I don't usually play with massively min-maxed characters. I'll make a character that will function, but it's not really how I play these games. Like even in Skyrim or Oblivion, I will play characters that are less than perfect because it's just more fun that way. I'm not one of these guys that likes to lose, but also I don't want to just waltz through everything. I will say that it's very easy in Daggerfall to just come out of the gate broken as shit if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Magic in Daggerfall, I don't really play with all that much because there's lots of hotkeys to it that I don't understand. But I made myself a warrior dark elf, for instance, and I just gave her a little bit of... I took away any chance she had at using magic and buffed all of her melee skills, and she does fine. So there's a lot of stuff you can do with builds in Daggerfall, whether you want to have sort of a standard run through of the game or you want to play like I do, and that is I don't really go for the story straight away. I like to just exist in Daggerfall for a bit.
Now, did Daggerfall come with pre-made classes or pre-formatted class templates? Because that was one of the most attractive things to me about the Elder Scrolls Oblivion, getting into character creation for the first time and seeing all of these colorfully illustrated portraits of different class types and reading about their descriptions and this one's a battle mage, this one's a witch hunter, and this one's a spell sword. Oh my gosh. And the template is what gave me the idea for the character that I would want to make that day.
I agree.
And then I would just run with it.
I agree. I made hundreds of characters in Oblivion back in the day.
Yeah.
And I think I actually used some of the artwork for the classes for D&D when I was in high school.
Nice.
So I'm right with you there. I find classless RPGs a little bit sad. I think another time perhaps we will have to talk about what is an RPG.
Yes, we will.
Because I watched your video on that. I was like, he makes some good points somewhere, but
that's fair. No, I'll buy that.
If we can get you to work, if we can get your mic to work on Restream, we'll try and get you onto Tittle for that. If you like, you can come on to a live stream.
That would be fun.
I think we've been going for about an hour. Have we got anything we want to say before we kind of go into the goodbyes?
Well, I was wondering if you had any inclination to comment or possibly lament about any associations between the Elder Scrolls 6 and this game. And I know we had talked at the opening of the stream about whether or not it's going to be a Skyrim killer, et cetera, but the Elder Scrolls 6 specifically, do you think it will be adequate competition for the Wayward Realms when the two of them finally see the light of day together?
This conversation sort of turned into an interview.
Sorry. I will help you out. I will start by saying no. I don't think there'll be like we said at the start of the stream, the start of the show. There will be inevitable comparisons made between the two. You can't help that. But once people actually see what the two games are made of and how they work and the philosophies behind their designs, I think comparisons will quickly erode and people will be forced to see them as separate games.
I agree with that take. I do. However, I don't... So, yeah, adequate competition, maybe not, but also not really in the same genre anymore. Like, this goes back to what is an RPG. I don't really consider Skyrim to be an RPG.
Okay.
I'm a lot more... Maybe it's because I have a TTRPG background from way back in high school. But I look at Skyrim and I say, okay, it's an adventure, it's an action. There's no real stats. There's 3, I guess. There's no real class system, which I kind of think classes are integral to RPGs. I know there's a few outliers, like you don't get a class system in Traveller, which I've got on my desk here. But I think that when we see Elder Scrolls 6, we will... You know that movie The Fly?
I try not to, but yes.
I think when the doors open on Elder Scrolls 6, we're gonna see what comes out of it, and we're either gonna go wow, or we're gonna go oh.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be a more in-depth conversation for another day.
We could do an entire video on Elder Scrolls 6.
Yeah, we could. Oh dear. And the trouble with both of these games is we just don't know. There's been so little shown about any of them.
Well, this is the joke we made on Tittle when we reacted to the Elder Scrolls 6 release trailer. It's just it's a mountain.
Yeah, I mean, there's been more time. Yeah, okay, the features. I remember you pointing at the trees coming over the ridge. I laughed so hard I had to rewind the video. But one of your cohorts made the comment that there's been more time between the release of Skyrim and that trailer. Sorry, the other way around. There's been more time between the release of that trailer and now than there was between Skyrim and that trailer. And I think you were right on the nose that saying it was more of a publicity stunt to make Bethesda look attractive to Microsoft. It's so sad to admit that, but
I did not come up with that. But it's weird how the Elder Scrolls 6 trailer has the same trait as the pyramids in Cleopatra, because the pyramids were older to Cleopatra than Cleopatra is to us.
Yes. Yeah,
which
that's a good point.
Boggles my mind.
So weird. Yeah.
One day our grandchildren might be able to play Elder Scrolls 6, and their grandchildren might be able to play Fallout 5.
Oh, that's sad.
But again, here's us committing the sin that we talked about at the start of this video. We're comparing them where they're not comparable, but they are linked at the hip. Yeah. They are completely and utterly linked at the hip. There's not really going to be a way, I think, to get out of the comparisons because of the shared DNA.
Look, the shared market space.
Yeah. I mean, look, you've been asking me a few questions here and sort of turning this into an impromptu interview. So let me try and pull one out of my ass here.
Okay.
You yourself are you're a lot more eclectic in the games you play than I am.
Perhaps, yeah.
So when you see the Wayward Realms, and I know you've got a lot of worries and a lot of anxieties for the Wayward Realms, what is that shining hope that you have for it? Like, what is the one thing that you absolutely want it to do? What is the one thing you need it to do?
Well, funny you mentioned that, because I made a little bit of a list before we sat down for this event today, and I won't read the entire list, but I'll give you a couple of the highlights. Number one, actually, is the size of the world. I've picked on it today during this talk, saying that it's an imbalance, and I wonder where their priorities lie, but I don't care. I am happy. I am so happy to have a world that is bigger than my imagination, because it is the size of real life. It is scaled to realistic travel distances.
It is 2.5 times the size of my entire country.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine that? I'm so looking forward to it.
Well,
I just want to explore.
In my my own little world called Varfal, I have a UK shaped landmass to the north, right? And that's the scale. And I use my island as a way of measuring the rest of the world so that travel times make sense. So I'm kind of looking at the Wayward Realms map coming down the pipeline here, and I'm going, oh boy.
Yes.
I find before we end, I find your point about underwater fascinating, because did you ever play Sea of Thieves?
No, I didn't.
Great fun.
Cautiously. Okay.
but the thing that made Sea of Thieves fun was it was multiplayer and you were all fucking up piloting a ship.
That was kind of what steered me away from it, though, was the total craziness of it.
And I'm wanting to look at the ship stuff, because look, they have naval patrols in Beltham Harbour, which to me says there must be a system in place for when those navies come head to head.
Yes. Oh, large scale battles. Oh, Jack, I can't wait. I want the full release of the game now.
Hopefully we don't run into the Skyrim thing of where you go in to do the Civil War and it's just 5 guys aside.
Oh, no.
I don't know, man.
Don't even say that. Don't jinx it.
But yeah, I think your idea of underwater ruins is probably going to come to fruition. And I wanted to be the first to tell you this. You might have already known this, actually, but I want to bring it to the forefront of your mind. That the archipelago is the result of a cataclysm. It was once a full landmass. There are things under the water for you to go and find.
There must be.
The goddess of tides, or the queen of the tides, or whatever. She is 4,000 years old, or something like that. So I there must be a civilization under there, and I bet it's Naga, and I bet they're going to destroy the world.
When the Naga and the crab people unite, that is the end.
Okay. Yeah, that is the end. We've been going for over an hour. Man,
it's been good fun.
Yeah, thanks for doing this, man. I when you commented on the video, I was like, wait a second, I know that guy.
Oh.
I mean, my people that are still here will probably already know this, but when I started talking in the library, it was kind of a way of building bridges between different generations of tabletop role players, and it's now become more of just an expanding way of creators to talk to one another in sort of a public forum.
Yep.
And I find it interesting that the natural result of that is that it's just becoming a nerd. It's almost like an online convention.
I think it's worked. I think the format has worked, despite whatever it may have started out as. I think you've really got something going here.
Well, what I mean is it's now spreading into the videos and comment sections as well, because it turns out that you can just talk to YouTubers. You can just say hi.
You can? What?
And that goes for the big guys too. Like we've had Runesmith on the show, but now I'm just monologuing. But thank you for coming on. We'll have to do another one or few of these. This has been great fun.
I'm so looking forward to a post Devlog recap. Oh my gosh,
revisiting. All right. Well, I've said my goodbyes. Do you want to say your goodbyes? Do you want to say like, comment, subscribe?
I would like to say that you should all like, comment, and subscribe to Jack the Lost Lore Scholar, and also consider that he has memberships. And if you become a member at the, correct me if I'm wrong, the Lore
Sworn,
Lore Sworn level or higher, you too stand a chance of being selected for a future online tabletop session with Jack and his parties.
People are not going to believe me when I say that I did not tell you to do that. I appreciate it, but you just made me look like a dick.
Believe it.
Well, no, of course.
I want to say, I just want to say, I'm impressed that we got through this entire conversation. I did not once open my mouth about magic.
The same thing happened with the bloody interview I did. They said, "Oh, you didn't talk about magic," and I went, "Holy crap! I didn't talk about magic! Bloody hell!" Next time. But
yes, next time.
In the meantime, guys, go and subscribe to Interested in Gaming and listen to his podcast series.
Yes, my YouTube channel is Inter's Odyssey, and you can find my Interest in Gaming podcast series that is ongoing and is inspired by the Wayward Realms, but is not necessarily about the Wayward Realms. So there we go.
Well, that was certainly an hour. I'm going to press the stop recording button now. Goodbye, everyone.
Okay. Goodbye.
Did you enjoy this video? I certainly hope you did. You might expect some music here, but YouTube really doesn't like me using royalty-free stuff and keeps flagging it. So go ahead, drop me a like, drop me a subscribe, leave me a comment. Check out my friends the Brass Drake and Dean of Untold Destiny, the little spinning heads there, and click on the other video. Please do, it really helps out the channel a lot. Have a good one.